The William Pace Show through the years has been a beacon of light in the Midwest, taking you to such destinations as the Navy Pier, the Palmer Hilton Palace Hotel, the German Village, the Showboat Majestic Theatre, the Ohio Village, and the Krohn Conservatory. There's always something cooking in the kitchen on the William Pace Show. Some of the biggest stars, entertainers, and political figures like B.B. King, Jimmy Walker, Bob Carlisle, Patti Austin, Mr. T, Whitley Phibbs, and Congressman Tony Hall have appeared on the William Pace Show. Now, without further ado, we proudly present the William Pace Show on CATV, coming to you from the heart of the Midwest. The William Pace Show, asking the questions you want to ask, getting the answers everyone wants to know. It's a new season of the William Pace Show. We're raising the bar with more commitment to educate, inform, encourage, inspire, empower, and help you have your best life. Everyone deserves to have their best life. I'm just staying the course. Here we go.
Good evening, I'm William Pace, and thanks so much for tuning in the William Pace Show. My guest this evening is Patti Austin. She is the author of a book called Yet Still I Stand. Thank you so much for being on the program tonight.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Pace. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Your book is just so interesting. The moment I picked the book up, I just had to keep reading and reading and reading. And with Domestic Violence Month coming up in October, it seems fitting that you're here today talking about this book, because domestic violence is a big problem today. And it seems like it's just a cycle that just keeps happening and happening from generation to generation, and we have to find some way to just stop the domestic violence. So I want to ask you a little bit about your background. You were born in California.
Yes, sir, I was. I was born in California and lived there until I was about 3. When my parents' relationship, their marriage did not work out, and my mom had moved back to Ohio in the Midwest with me to raise me amongst family here.
Mm-hmm. But then, when you were growing up in Ohio, your mother remarried again. She left the first husband because he had a problem with alcohol or substance abuse. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so she did not want you to be in that environment. But little did she know that when she remarried, that she put her daughter in a far worse situation. Would that be your assessment of it?
That is correct. She did not know the situation that she was getting involved in when she remarried. I believe that she felt that she really knew him well because he had been friends with her brother for many years growing up. And so she most likely felt like it was a safe choice at that point in order to move forward with that marriage. And I believe there was a big shock once we discovered that that was not how that marriage was going to go.
So when this abuse started, it wasn't just one time, it was a continuous problem from the first day. When did it start? How old were you?
I was 5 years old when it started, and it occurred.
Years
Yeah.
old. What did you think was happening to you? Or
Didn't know.
You didn't even know.
I didn't know. It started with the sexual abuse, and I didn't know what that was. It didn't feel right. I didn't like it, but I didn't know, of course, what that was. And so that did occur more times than I can count. I have no idea how many times.
It went on from 5 till you left home.
Correct.
And so, but were you able to go to your mother? Were you able to tell her anything?
I don't know what it's really called. I can't remember. They have a terminology for this, but because I was young when this started, I had played in my mind telling her many times and didn't follow through with that, I guess. But all growing up, you play this over and over in your mind and don't realize that you're not really reaching out for the help that you need. And that was also a different era when, families were supposed to stick together regardless of what was happening. And, different religious institutions and churches tried to teach that it was important to stay together in a marriage covenant. And so, even in the midst of all that was going on, there wouldn't have been a lot of help for her in order to get out of that type of situation either. She was also being abused by him. And so there was many, many dynamics involved in that situation.
So this abuse continued until you left home at the age of 17. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And the thing about domestic violence and child abuse and all of that is that it becomes a way of life for some people. Not a good way of life, but they don't know how to navigate to a good life. Would you say that's accurate?
I do believe that that's accurate. When you grow up in a situation like that, you don't know that there's anything better or different. And a lot of times, even if you do find out that there might be something better or different, you don't have a lot of hope that you are going to be able to experience something better or different. So a lot of people feel stuck in those situations, even once they realize that maybe they are being mistreated or that you don't have to live life that way. And so they go on to, stay in a situation that they really are not thriving in.
But then, because you came out of this situation of abuse, when you started to date and court someone, then you were accustomed to that as being a way of life. And then because of your background, what you came out of, you got involved with someone else who had some of the same baggage that you came out of.
That's correct.
That is correct, okay. And so did you see the signs of the same thing that you had gotten out of when you got into this situation? I guess this gentleman became your husband, and did you notice that this was starting all over again?
I don't think that your mind really processes it that way when you've come out of abuse and walk right into another situation of abuse that young, because I was 17 when I had started dating him. So I hadn't been out of my home for very long where I was experiencing that type of abuse anyway. And living in that type of abuse all growing up, you really don't get to find out who you are and what you like and what you want in life. You're in survival mode. And so you are also, one of the primary things that everybody needs is love. And many people who leave situations of abuse as a child, they're looking for love.
For love.
Correct.
And sometimes looking for love in the wrong places.
Absolutely.
Or maybe love, it may appear to be love, but it's really not.
Correct.
And so, but this situation got even more turbulent as it continued. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to talk more about that when we return. There's more on the William Pace Show, coming to you from the heart of the Midwest.
The William Pace Show through the years has been a beacon of light in the Midwest, taking you to such destinations as the Navy Pier, the Palmer Hilton Palace Hotel, the German Village, the Showboat Majestic Theatre, the Ohio Village, and the Krohn Conservatory. There's always something cooking in the kitchen on the William Pace Show. Some of the biggest stars, entertainers, and political figures like B.B. King, Jimmy Walker, Bob Carlisle, Patti Austin, Mr. T, Whitley Phibbs, and Congressman Tony Hall have appeared on the William Pace Show. Now, without further ado, we proudly present the William Pace Show on CATV, coming to you from the heart of the Midwest.
Good evening, I'm William Pace, and thanks so much for tuning in the William Pace Show. My guest this evening is Tara Alston. She's the author of a new book called Yet Still I Stand. Thank you so much for being here. Your story is inspiring in a way because, you know, that, and one thing that you said in the first part of the book, you said, I came into this world premature, and I came into the world in not the best circumstances, but I learned how to fight. And I highlighted that, you know, because I'm sort of a fighter too, you know. So it's nice to meet another fighter.
Nice to meet another fighter, yes.
Yes. And so you were married, but then your husband became abusive. He would beat you physically,
yes,
and then sometimes you were raped.
Correct. And a lot of that was occurring before we even got married. So I was experiencing some physical abuse and sexual abuse prior to marriage, as well as emotional abuse. And of course, that typically goes with it when there's the physical and sexual abuse. And
did you ever have a red flag? Because generally, when people show you, you know, as Maya Angelou, the poet, says, you know, when people show you they're crazy, you know, they don't have to show you 10 times. One time is just enough. Did you ever have any inkling that this is not what I should do?
Initially, when we first started dating, he did not talk to me nicely, but that was something I was used to from the things that I experienced growing up and abuse. So that wasn't as much as a red flag as it was causing me to try to work harder to be a better person. And because oftentimes those who abuse try to turn it and make it look like it's something that you're doing or not doing, or it's your fault.
Try to put a guilt trip on you.
Right. So I kept working really hard to try to, you know, fix whatever it was that was causing him to talk not so nicely to me. But I quickly, because I was looking for love and wanted that so badly, and because of the sexual abuse that I endured as a child as well, I quickly became pregnant in this relationship, and that is when the physical abuse began. And so it was at that point that I realized that this is scary. But there were lots of threats made that I needed to marry him or he would kill me and take my baby. And so that was the motivation. Again, it's not a healthy mindset that I was working with at that point, but you know, I was hoping that, okay, he wants to get married, so that the baby grows up in a home with two married parents. So maybe if I do this, things will get better. And I didn't want the alternative that if I didn't do what he was saying, that he would kill me and take my baby. So I did follow through with the marriage.
But once you got in the marriage, you realized that you had made a horrible mistake.
Yes, absolutely, because things don't get better when you marry into a situation like that. They get worse. And that is exactly what I experienced. So I continued to experience physical abuse, only it continued to get worse. And the sexual abuse became even more frequent. And dealt with that emotional abuse, as I talked about before, and then on top of it was included financial abuse. And I don't think that that's talked about enough, but it is a tactic that's often used by abusers to keep their victims in bondage, because you don't have a lot of resources to be able to get out of that.
So with financial pressures, physical abuse, mental abuse, you just continued to stay there until the abuse turned towards your children.
Correct.
By then you had a second child.
Yes.
And you came home one day and the children had scars and bruises or something on them?
They had some cuts and bruises on them, yes.
And that was the moment, that was the definitive moment where you said, enough is enough. I'm out of here.
Yes, I had definitely drawn a line at my children. I was determined to be a good mom. My children were my world, and I wanted to make sure I protected them. Before he was abusing them, when you're going through that type of abuse, it's easy for people to make an excuse like, well, he's not hurting the children. Although, in fact, children are hurt very much by watching another parent be abused.
Yes.
But in my mind, I was keeping my family intact, and I didn't know how I could get out anyway. And I was trying to raise my children in a home that was not what I considered broken. But when he hurt my children, that is all that it took.
That was it.
That was it.
So you got out of the home and you found shelter and took the two sons with you, two boys with you. But it was a hard time for you because I'm sure there are other people, viewers listening tonight, who are in the same exact situation, trying to find a way to get out of a broken marriage or a domestically violent marriage. So you struggled, and one thing you said in the book about you thought maybe the judicial system would help you, but it seemed like they put more roadblocks up. Tell us a little bit about that.
It did. It seemed like they put more roadblocks up, and I was a single mom at that point and already dealing with a lot of financial issues. And so I used what is called a legal aid attorney. And what I didn't realize for a little while was that he was contacting my attorney as well and trying to convince her of his side of the story. And so not only was I dealing with a judicial system that isn't so much set up to protect and help domestic abuse victims, but my attorney was even falling for a lot of the things that he was saying, because he's very charming when he tries to convince somebody of something. And so she would tell me that I needed to be easier on him or she couldn't be my attorney anymore. And so I felt like all odds were against me at this point and trying to protect my children.
So eventually, he did some things that the court thought that it would be in the best interest for you to have custody of the children.
Yes, he was, he pled guilty to the domestic violence against the boys. And then he was not following through with getting the psychological evaluation and doing the anger management classes. He wasn't showing up to a lot of the supervised visits. And so they, at least on a temporary basis, had terminated his rights and had, provided, I already had the full custody, but made it to where we didn't have to connect with him frequently for the boys to see him, which was very good for them.
That is a blessing in disguise that he
Yes.
would not cooperate, that you got custody of the children. And when we return, we're going to talk about your life today. I want to hear about that. There's more to come on the William Pace Show, coming to you from the heart of the Midwest.
The William Pace Show through the years has been a beacon of light in the Midwest, taking you to such destinations as the Navy Pier, the Palmer Hilton Palace Hotel, the German Village, the Showboat Majestic Theatre, the Ohio Village, and the Krohn Conservatory. There's always something cooking in the kitchen on the William Pace Show. Some of the biggest stars, entertainers, and political figures like B.B. King, Jimmy Walker, Bob Carlisle, Patti Austin, Mr. T, Whitley Phibbs, and Congressman Tony Hall have appeared on the William Pace Show. Now, without further ado, we proudly present the William Pace Show on CATV, coming to you from the heart of the Midwest.
Good evening, I'm William Pace, and thanks so much for tuning us in tonight. My guest this evening is Patti Austin. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It sounds like your life has been a lot of struggle, but you know what comes from the struggle is a certain strength, to be able to stand. But I want to ask you, what is life like today? You have remarried, you're in an interracial marriage, and you have a blended family. Tell us about that.
Yes, life is much better today. I did have a challenge last year of the release of my ex-husband from prison. He had went on to murder the wife after me, and they had released him. And I had to decide last year if I was going to live in terror or if I was going to choose to live and thrive and continue to grow and follow my passions. And so that's how I've moved forward and where I am today. But I did remarry. It was in 2013, and I have a wonderful husband and 3 children. I had 3 boys, and he had 3 girls prior to us meeting, and so we kind of have what people term as the Brady Bunch, only
Wow.
opposites, I guess. So yes, I'm very thankful for our family.
Mm-hmm. And so today, life is better. That is great to hear, that you can overcome the trials and tribulations. I want to talk about the work you do. You started an organization and this organization is also called the same as the book called Yet Still I Stand. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And tell me, what is the mission of the organization?
The mission is really very similar to why I wrote the book. It's to provide encouragement and hope to those who are experiencing traumas and abuse or different hardships or challenges. There's a lot of people who experience trauma or abuse. And also a lot of people who are trying to support somebody who is going through something like that or coming out of something like that. And so I try to provide that hope and encouragement, as well as resources and different tips to be able to help through those situations. But all of us have gone through hardships and challenges. Mm-hmm. So really it applies to everyone as far as the struggles that people face at different times and trying to make sure that we realize that there is a way out, and you're not stuck. So
what the word says, there's always a ram in the bush for any situation that you may encounter. Nothing's too big for God,
Right. He makes a way of escape.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about that in your book. You talked briefly about going to church and learning of God and having that peace of mind that God is with you, whether you're in a structural building or not, that you could have that inner peace of God. That was another thing in the book that I highlighted. So folks, you must go and get the book called Yet Still I Stand by the author Patti Austin. Now, Tara, I want to take a few moments for you to talk to the viewers, particularly the viewers who may be in a domestic violent relationship. What would you say to them?
The first thing that I want to say is that you are worthy. You're worthy of living in peace, and the fight to remove yourself from bad situations is totally worth it. A lot of people ask why people stay, and there are so many different reasons, and every situation is unique. And so we can't look at one situation and think that there's no reason why that person should have stayed. There's typically a reason why somebody stays in that, and it's not because they enjoy being abused. And so just knowing that there are opportunities for you to get out of that situation and actually heal. There's life after abuse, to where you can heal and then you can grow and you can actually dream again and go after the passions and the things that God has placed within you. And so, like I said, every situation is unique. So telling you how to get out of a situation really depends on the situation that you're in. But the biggest thing is that safety is number one. And making sure that you do things as safely as possible. And I always recommend gathering your personal documentation and, some medicines if you're on regular medication, and, just have a bag that's easy to grab and go when you are able to do so. And then making a plan, but not announcing that plan.
And do it very below the table, not informed. Or what your intentions are. So
correct, because it is a dangerous time when you're trying to leave. But making that plan and then not announcing it is a really important thing to do, and following your gut as far as when it is time to try to make the escape. I do encourage, I know that it's not for everyone, but I do encourage filing a report of the abuse, because
absolutely.
It's always helpful to have that backing. And then there are a ton of resources out here available to you to help. And I know that it's scary, and I know that it's hard at first to try to locate those resources, but they are there for you, and you never have to feel badly about utilizing them. Those resources are for you. And so there are different places that I can help connect you to, or if you were in a safe place and started Googling different places for help, we would be happy to do so, just because we want to make sure that you are safe and that you are whole and that you are getting out and getting to live the life that you deserve.
Wonderful. And for the viewers listening, give us a telephone number.
My phone number is actually tied to, it's all on my website, which may make it a little easier for everybody.
Yes, give us your website.
Okay, the website is yetstillistand.com.
Okay.
And there's a way to contact me directly through a form on the webpage. I have my phone number on there, and my email address also, yetstillistand@gmail.com. So definitely feel free to contact me at all the above.
Okay, and we'll have that on our screen too, so for the viewers to see as well. Thank you so much for being on the program tonight. And also, if people are interested in your book, Yet Still I Stand, they can also reach out to the website and subscribe to the book.
Absolutely. I have a link to where they can order the book through Amazon, or you can contact me to order it as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
You bet. There's more to come on the William Pace Show, coming to you from the heart of the Midwest.
The William Pace Show on CATV.